Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo. They tell you what they know. Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo. The podcast that you know. Deuce and Mo.
Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo. They tell you what they know.
Do it for Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo. Hey. Do it for Deuce and Mo. When it comes to the Kings, it's my favorite show. Do it for Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo. Hey. Do it for Deuce and Mo. When it comes to the Kings, big hopes and dreams as we cover our kings. Never cover the kingdom, but we loving our kings. And we covered your prayers as we doing our thing. Big Deuce with the pod, Lil Mo on the screen. Solo or together, still do it for team. Never switch up for $1 or revenue stream. So we always got each other, balance out the beam. Deuce and Mo, and that's the end of the thing. So do it for Deuce.
We are live!
Deuce and Mo. Hey.
You're gonna do the Scott Hall thing. Just let me do it, all right? It's not your gimmick. See, when I do that, you can do the Kevin Nash, like. There you go. What's up, Deuce Mason, Morgan Reagan? We are live on a Monday. How are we doing, everybody?
What up, Deuce?
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, Morgan.
What's up with it?
I'm rooting for y'all.
Thank you. Let's go, Kings.
Oh, man. How are we doing in the chat? We'll start the podcast in just mere moments. We're also going to have on Anthony Slater from The Athletic, who knows Mike Brown really well. He covers the NBA and the Golden State Warriors, so we'll pick his brain for a few minutes. Me and Morgan also did kind of a deep dive this morning on Mike Brown, watching a video on his early offense.
Yeah.
That's when you know you're nerdy. You're watching videos on early offense. Let's go.
Obsessed. Yeah. And I mean, here's the thing. We've talked so much about Mike Brown, his resume, what we know about him as a person. We're like, we've got to find different things and talk to different people that also know Mike Brown. So looking at that video, that was fun. And then also talking to Anthony Slater at 10:15 is going to be a blast.
We should note, too, tomorrow, Mark Jones joins the show. We will be live at 10 a.m. Mark Jones, Sacramento Kings play-by-play man. And, of course, you see him on ESPN doing all the games. He was doing that Dallas-Phoenix game yesterday.
Give me a hell yeah.
Mark Jones. Mark Jones.
You ready to start this pod?
Oh, God.
Okay,
no,
we can't start the pod because I don't know if you heard that in the background. We got a Bojack Carlin. Carlin has mounted Bojack. These guys are on edge. They're fired up. Yeah, get out there. Come on, man. We're trying to do a pod. My God. So shout out to everyone here in the chat. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button. You can also hit the subscribe button. The other thing that's new on our channel that you could do on YouTube, you could do it on Twitch too. You could subscribe. But on YouTube, you can also join. And you get some cool emotes. Unlock some cool emotes. All right.
They're going to kill each other.
Yeah, I know. It is what it is. You want
Rest
me to
in
shut that door?
peace. Nah.
All right.
If they come in again, then I will kill a puppy.
All right. Well, let's get. Do you hear that? Do you hear that?
Monsters! Come on, get your ass in here.
Carlin, just chill, bro.
Just chill, bro.
If you're gonna come in here, you gotta say hi. This monster. What do you have to say about yourself? Okay, what about Mike
my
Brown?
God.
What do you think about Mike Brown? Okay.
He's usually so vocal. Hi. Stop causing chaos or you will die.
Okay, stop it.
Okay.
All right, let's get things started. Deuce and Mo coming down on 3, 2, 1. Hit my music.
Deuce and Mo. Deuce
All right, we gotta stop. See, Morgan, I hit the music and all right, 3, 2, 1. The first thing you
What'd
do
you-
into the mic, you go like this. I mean, who does that? Who does, like, why do you, right away, we're starting the podcast. All right, dude, the music's rolling. What do you do? Like you're Carlin. Like, don't sniff into the mic. What are you doing? Is this your first show?
What is this perfectionist like mentality? Oh, I get it. Mike Brown's the new head coach. You now are taking on the OCD role, whatever, of having everything be perfect. I'm so sorry that a sniffle went into the microphone.
But why would you do that? Like, you know the mic is going to pick it up. So if I were to sniff, I'd be like, not. Like your nose was in, like. Are you ready this time? Are you good? Am I the only one? Everyone can someone in the chat have my back on this?
No
that
one
was
is.
ridiculous.
Deuce on edge. Someone said #roasted. Come on.
Thank you.
We're live, pal.
Shout out
I
to
think
Jace,
that was to me.
Jay Stahl says, wait a minute, Deuce, where'd you get that hat from? King's Team Store.
Isn't that dope?
I got
All
some
right.
new hats. All right, Deuce and Mo
Shut up.
coming down. 3, 2, 1. Hit my music.
Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. They tell you what they know. Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. The podcast that you know.
Welcome into the Deuce and Mo podcast, a Monday edition. I'm Deuce Mason alongside Morgan Reagan. We got a jam-packed show. We'll sprinkle in some NBA playoffs, but of course, the big story today is the fact that Mike Brown is now the new head coach of the Sacramento Kings. We'll take a deep dive into him and maybe what he could bring offensively. We'll also catch up with Anthony Slater from The Athletic, who covers the NBA and the Golden State Warriors. He knows Mike Brown pretty well, so we'll ask him about what Brown can bring to the Sacramento Kings. Morgan, Reagan, how the hell are you?
I'm doing great. You know, I think you and I both were excited for when this news was going to come out, and the fact that it's finally here. It's exciting either way. You know, change is always exciting, especially when you're in Sacramento, because you never know what it could hopefully lead to.
Selfishly, I was happy that a decision finally came, but also I was happy that it wasn't going to be 4 months of us talking about like Mark Jackson the entire time. It would have. I was already kind of tired of it.
Yeah.
But just knowing that it's only May 9th and that opening night is not till mid to late October.
Yeah.
That would have been insane. So now you go with Mike Brown, and there's obviously some people who have been mixed on. Oh, another retread. I gotta be honest. I have never been more sick of the word retread in my life. As if you're only allowed to hire a coach with 1 year, no coaching experience previously. If he gets fired, he's a retread, right? Mm-hmm. So that once you get a job and lose it, you should never get one again. I get so sick and tired of that. I think that lacks the context that is necessary. Sure, there are some people you see get a job one time and you go, you know what? I've probably seen enough. This might be a little too big for them.
Yeah.
For example, Nate Bjorkgren last year with the Pacers, that looked like a mess. And maybe years from now he gets another gig, but there was a lot of infighting. There's all this chaos going on. Where does he end up? Back with the Toronto Raptors as an assistant coach.
Yeah.
But there are examples of other coaches throughout time who have had multiple stops. Are we calling Rick Carlisle a retread coach, Morgan?
I mean,
Rick Adelman a retread coach?
Deuce, it's like we've been talking about. People look for the flaws first when we were talking about the coaching candidates and then the coaching finalists for the Sacramento Kings. It was all about what they can't do or the things that they've done wrong within their career, which absolutely we have to address and bring up. Sure. But a lot of those people that only bring up that never go and look for the good stuff, the positive stuff, that dig deep on what they do on the floor, not only what they used to do on the floor, but what they have done on the floor and what they do on the floor now in the present time. So, yeah, anyway, it's enough of that word, whatever. People can use whatever the hell they want to use, but then they're just not digging deep enough and actually putting in any of the work.
Also, he's obviously had some good runs in the NBA.
Yeah.
Multiple 60-win teams. Even that last stint with the Lakers, that first year they made it to the second round. They lost to an OKC team that ended up going to the NBA Finals, featuring Harden, Durant and Westbrook, that young team that lost in the NBA Finals. And then the next year, I mean, you think about the hype that went into the Lakers that year when they got Nash. They had Howard. It was like, oh, man, this is going to be a team. This is the next super team, the best team ever assembled. And Brown tried to institute a Princeton offense. Kobe was kind of looking at him sideways at that point, and he was out after like 5 games.
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
And that was such a weird team. That was such a weird time. Yeah, I mean, you have to factor in everything. And you also are definitely allowed to put blame on him as well with any of these situations. But context matters. Another thing I just wanted to say, too, I had one of my Indiana Pacers guys with NBC Sports text me this morning. He said, Mike Brown was an assistant here for a bit and is extremely well thought of around here. He's a very good man. I'm sure you're going to enjoy working with him. Hope he has success. I thought that was cool. Just, again, there's so much positivity surrounding Mike Brown and that name. So even if you weren't fully on board for Mike Brown and you're like, man, I wish they're going with a fresh face or they're going with not a retread or whatever it is, there's a lot of good to talk about when it comes to Mike Brown as a human and as a coach.
Yeah, and we'll learn more about him in the next couple of minutes when Anthony Slater drops by, too. I think one of the biggest things that Mike Brown has got to deal with is how do you take a team that's been awful defensively for so long and turn them into a respectable defensive team? That's the challenge. Like, that's really hard to do. I kind of mentioned this a bit yesterday, but I really think it starts with De'Aaron Fox.
It absolutely does, because we talk about setting the tone, and how many times last season did we talk about Davion Mitchell setting the tone like you're going to have to play like him or get off the floor? That standard was never there. It was never like not enough people were held accountable, right? Especially on that end of the floor. And that tone did not spread throughout the other players. I feel like with someone like Mike Brown and what we've seen and what he's done with the defense with Golden State is that standard, you're not going to play if you're not following those rules. You will be held accountable. We don't need you out on the floor if you're not going to do what's right defensively as a team player. And so, yeah, with De'Aaron Fox, it's really going to take him understanding at a high level what he needs to do differently and also find it within himself to put all that out there 24/7.
I think with De'Aaron, he's at a crossroads a bit in his NBA career. You're entering year 6. You make a lot of money. You haven't won. Now this is the point. We saw this last year where a lot of people are questioning, looking at him kind of funny now. Like, all right, who is this guy? Is this guy just a good player on a bad team? Or can he be a guy that could be a part of a winning team? What is he willing to do? What is he willing to sacrifice? How is he able to evolve? Can he become at least a respectable shooter? Can he dominate the mid-range? But I really think for me, it's like defensively, what can you do? Because if the Kings are going to make some noise next year, and when I mean noise, be like in playoff contention, it's going to be because De'Aaron Fox is playing the best basketball of his career. That's, to me, the bottom line. Now, they still have to make other moves around that, but I think it really does start with Fox.
Yeah, and I think for me, now seeing De'Aaron Fox through 5 seasons, my expectations of him have completely changed. And this is not a negative thing to say. I think so many people find this as a negative. I do not see De'Aaron Fox as a number one guy. And people are like, well, he's getting paid like a number one guy. Yeah, one, you got to do that when you're in a small market like Sacramento. Sorry, like that's what you're going to have to pay for a guy like De'Aaron Fox. But two, he doesn't have to be the number one guy now, especially because they have someone like Sabonis there to take that pressure off of him. And I believe so many people, so many fans, so many media members that look at De'Aaron Fox and go, well, this is what he was supposed to be. And if he's not that, then he's considered a failure. Absolutely not. Adjusting your game to be a great player in this league instead of a superstar player, however you want to identify that next tier of players, is totally fine. Because not only will you find a place in this league, but you'll find a place on a team like the Sacramento Kings where you will be looked at so differently by adjusting your role and understanding what is really needed out of you.
I still think he has the potential to be a guy.
And that's fine. And
he's young enough that like he could evolve into that. I mean, I think for years, and I know these players are different, but like, Devin Booker was questioned for years in Phoenix.
Yep.
And, the big difference there is, obviously he's a scorer. He could shoot the ball. Like, I love Devin Booker.
Yeah.
But most people weren't talking. I think some were not. Most people weren't talking about Devin Booker as a top 10 player in the league. It's like, how good is he? He's losing. And it's one of, I think, the biggest challenges in evaluating talent sometimes is figuring out, all right, is this just a really talented player that needs more help around him that can evolve too, or is he just a guy that puts up numbers on a bad team and can show out every once in a while? The biggest thing with Fox is the consistency, is doing it almost every night. And really that's
every season throughout.
Yeah, I mean, that's just what you talk about with any player in the league. That's what separates the good from the great. When you get to this level, almost everyone's good. How do you become great?
I know Anthony Slater's joining us, but just really quick on Devin Booker too. He deserved that criticism, but what he did well was start adjusting his role, especially when Chris Paul came to the team. He understood and learned something different about his game.
Well, let's bring him in. I appreciate him joining us on a game day. We are live with the one and only Anthony Slater from The Athletic. He covers the Warriors and, of course, the NBA. What's up, Anthony?
What's up? How are you guys doing?
We are good, man. I appreciate you making some time. I know we just bugged you recently to come on, so for you to come on so soon, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's all good. This is pretty monumental, day or weekend for the Kings, right?
Well, it wasn't Mother's Day. It was Mike Brown Day, actually, yesterday.
Are we going monumental? They do this every couple of years, Anthony.
They do. But,
I was curious to kind of get your first reaction. What did you think when you heard the news that Mike Brown was going to the Sacramento Kings?
You could feel it behind the scenes for several days that seemed to be the direction the Kings were leaning. I think it's a good hire. I mean, look, not only does he have, coaching experience going way back. I mean, I don't know. You remember the Malice at the Palace?
Yeah, he was there.
He was first in the stands to try to get Ron Artest out of the stands. I mean, this was Rick Carlisle's lead assistant on those Pacers teams. This was LeBron James' coach in early LeBron years in Cleveland. Obviously, he coached the Kobe Lakers at one point. Back to San Antonio, he coached Steve Kerr. He was an assistant or, low-level assistant back with the Spurs, but, coached Tim Duncan at the time. Knows so many people, has touched so many, legends in this game. And then I think his last 6 years, which I'm sure you'll want to ask me about, but it's just his last 6 seasons with the Warriors, I think really helped him maybe mold a more mature coaching approach that I assume he's going to take to Sacramento.
And you took a deep dive and did a story on him in 2017, talking about obviously the changes he went through in his life, how he evolved. What's one of your biggest takeaways from spending that time with him?
That was a really fun interview. It was between the second round, really this time of year, right between the second round and the West Finals. He had taken over as coach because remember Steve Kerr had that back issue where just his health had kind of taken a bad turn for a little bit. So Mike Brown was the head coach going into the West Finals with an undefeated, really, people would argue the greatest team ever. He was the head coach of the greatest team ever for 11 playoff games when they went 11-0. And right before that, he was facing Popovich, and they had one of those long breaks because they had just swept the second round. They were about to sweep the West Finals. And I was meeting with him in Oakland to do this story, you know, going to face the guy, Greg Popovich, who is his mentor in the West Finals, but also while Mike Brown took 2 years away. And I'm trying to like remember, this was a 2017 story, but Mike had, you know, like, I guess Greg had let him come whenever he wanted to be around the Spurs. And Mike pulls up in a Harley motorcycle in Oakland. It was like one of those really nice days in Oakland. And he was, you know, just banging some music out on the Harley. And we were in kind of like a hipster coffee shop type place to talk about this story. And he was just, you could just tell he just was really happy with like that point in his life. I guess the learning experience he was getting with the Warriors, but also, and I wrote about it in the story and I know you tweeted it out, but he was kind of coming to a good place with his two sons who, you know, he had spent his whole life, their whole life, I should say, as like a really intense, detail oriented coach. And he had finally been, you know, given a chance to step back and be, you know, more of, I guess, like a daily dad. He was living in New Mexico for his years away because one of his sons was playing at the University of New Mexico. So he was just in a good place in his life at that point. And I think a lot of the Warriors vibe rubbed off on him, which I think is the big thing that's happened over the last 6 years for him.
I was talking about this yesterday because we did like a live reaction podcast, and I'm intrigued by Brown's decision to come to Sacramento because for him, like, you think about what you're taking over. I mean, this coaching fraternity, everyone talks. I'm sure he's heard every single story about a coach coming to Sacramento and some of the stuff that they've had to deal with over time. Why do you think this was the right move for him? Like, why? I know you probably haven't talked to him about accepting the job yet, but like, why do you think this opportunity in Sacramento made sense for him?
I think that he wanted to get back in to coaching. I think he wants to test himself one more time as a head coach, is my sense. And this is a chance for him to do it. You know, these are very difficult jobs to get. Only 30 of them, only, you know, a handful of them open up. You know, I'm sure he's got some sounds like he's got some assurances from the Kings that, you know, they are going to try to compete now. He's not, I wouldn't say a full rebuild type of coach, which, you know, as I know last time we were on the podcast, maybe you could argue that's the direction the Kings should have gone, but they're not. So this is the type of coach you do want to hire to try to build a good defense and, you know, get in the play-in next season. And I do think the proximity to the Bay Area, he's come to love the Bay Area and California and living here. He's lived here 6 years. I think the move is easy for him. You know, it's right up state, you know, 90 minutes. So I think that kind of all has to do with it. And you got a 4-year deal. I'm sure pretty good money. That's the other thing. And I think generally he just is of the belief he's a more mature head coach than he used to be. And he wants to test that with his own program.
I love that. Yeah. And the California thing too, because obviously we've talked about all the Golden State Warriors coaches that have been hired in Sacramento. And it does always make sense to me. And I'm always curious if that's it. But going back to the Golden State Warriors and what Mike Brown means to that coaching staff, but not only to that coaching staff, Anthony, what about to the players as well?
Yeah. You know, he is, especially this season, you've heard, because he took back over the defense. I know he's only known as a defensive coach, but he was actually in control of the offense for a chunk of his time there. But this season, they gave him back the defense, and he brought like you talk to Draymond or some of the veterans, like a real level of accountability, where I wrote this story. This would have been early in the season, but, you know, they had the number one defense a few months in, and they were talking about he would be giving out like, defensive player of the day, player of the week, player of the month type awards. But also they had this metric, and he worked with their analytics team. Pabale is like the Warriors' big analytics guy, to create these individual numbers, that judge guys on a bunch of different stuff. But like everyone had an individual number. The higher you were, the better you were doing. And I think they were kind of tailored to a player's, you know, skill set essentially. But if you were bad, or let's say over the last week your number had dropped, like he would publicize it in film, like, look, hey, you're really dipping on this end. And just talking to Draymond and Andre and some of the veterans, they really felt that level of accountability, especially for the younger players, the Jordan Pooles of the team, where you're if you have a bad defensive week, you're kind of embarrassed. When they bring it up in film, they felt like that really, because that's what defense is, right? It's accountability. It's like effort. It's not missing rotations. And obviously that's something the Kings have been lacking for
so long.
decades now. So you'd expect him to bring it in. I mean, the only curious part, as we all know, is like, what's the defensive personnel of this team?
Right. I mean, that's the big question we were talking about right before you came on, was like, to me, I've always thought De'Aaron has more upside as a defender, even though he hasn't necessarily showed that at the NBA level. I think sometimes it's about teaching too. Like, he may just need to learn, just soak it all in. I'm not saying he could be like an all NBA defender. I think he could be a much better defender consistently, not taking so many chances. But it's also a challenge you talk about with personnel. You have a starting lineup that features Sabonis and Fox. These guys aren't necessarily known for being good defensive players. With those two guys as kind of the foundational pieces, do you think they could take a jump defensively depending on what they do to fill out the rest of the roster, even with those two guys as kind of the big foundational pieces?
It's going to depend on who they bring in,
Yeah.
right? I mean, this was not a finished product of a roster. I assume they're making tweaks this summer. I haven't talked to Mike about it. I mean, he's had the job for however many hours, but how much control does he have over personnel? I mean, he's a guy who's opinionated about players in the league. I'm sure likes certain, this backup point guard he thinks, could help defensively, but they're going to need to get veterans in there. I know he'll want that, established guys in the league who have proven, because I think, like you said, I think Fox could theoretically be okay if there's a level of accountability, but I also think he needs like a backbone behind him, and Domantas Sabonis isn't really that backbone. So, I mean, they're going to just need versatile wings and really, I mean, especially if the offense can be what we think it potentially could be with Fox and Sabonis, they don't need to be like the seventh best defense next season. I mean, we know that. They just need to be like, what, 18th? Like 16th?
Dude, if they're
good,
18th,
right?
there might be a parade downtown Sacramento
Absolutely.
celebrating the 18th
A
defensive rating.
statue of De'Aaron Fox. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think you can do that in the NBA with a little bit better personnel than the Kings have. So, if they do that this summer, but also if there's just buy-in, and that'll be Mike's biggest challenge probably, is just 82 game buy-in where, they could have a good. Didn't the Kings, they had like a pretty good opening week last year defensively. I remember like Davion Mitchell had that strip against the Jazz. They played pretty well.
Yeah, I'll never forget the 5-4 start. It was iconic in so many ways.
So that can happen, but the challenge in the NBA is like week after week, as you get deeper into winter, as you go on these road trips with 4 games and 6 nights in these cold weather cities, like, can you continue to listen to the game plan every night, know which shooters you're supposed to close out on, which ones you're sagging off, game plan, discipline, all that. Like, Mike Brown is incredibly sharp defensively and detail oriented, but can he get that through to a franchise and a core that has probably never dealt with that? And that'll be the challenge, because if he can't, then it's the same problem year after year.
I feel like with this Kings roster, it's probably the best heads on the shoulders kind of guys, where mentally they're different than years past. Like, if Buddy Hield was still on the squad, I would believe that, like, oh no, there's still someone not buying into the system or this philosophy. But you see what Mike Brown's also done with some of the young guys with the Golden State Warriors, Kuminga, and just, putting that defensive mentality into him. I just feel like there's a way for Mike Brown to get that through to these guys. But not only that, you talked a little bit too how he used to implement a little bit more of the offense. I believe so much of that is going to come from the defensive effort and what he puts on the defensive end, not only pushing the pace, but getting those hands in the passing lane, getting that quick rebound and that quick outlet. And that's what's going to help create maybe this pace-filled Mike Brown's offense as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing though is, and he would tell you this, like, it's not just Mike Brown, like, who has just put his defensive gloves all over the Warriors. I mean, Andre Iguodala, Draymond Green, talk about a level of veteran accountability. You make a mistake while Draymond Green's on the floor, Mike doesn't need to say anything. But it's to me, it's about the patience level that he's given, to try to lay a foundation. And year one isn't like play in or bust, play in or, we're talking about hot seat type job security. That's my biggest question because, you at times there needs to be trial and error when you come in and it's just, he'll probably find some players that, connect with his approach, some that don't. And that's the big thing. Because this isn't as much as playing is the priority. This isn't a roster that is a finished product or something that, it's a 1-2 year thing. As I think we all know, the Kings should probably take a more patient approach to everything. And I think he could be the right hire for a patient approach. You just have to have it.
You mentioned how this Warriors time, the stint with the Warriors has helped shape him a little bit, maybe evolve. In what ways do you think he has evolved as a coach during this time?
Just less obsessive over the minute by minute, results of the job. I remember him talking about they coming in and they're playing music, him and Kevin Durant, who came from the Thunder, who was a very disciplined militaristic organization at times, coming in that first year. They came in the same time and looking at each other like, wait, we're playing music in practice right now. What's going on? Or, all the assistant coaches are allowed to talk to the media like us, we're in there, essentially, able to, it's just like a very free environment. And Steve is a very, I guess, like he takes like a very democratic approach to everything. Everyone has a voice. They take a lot of off days. I remember talking to Mike about that early on, where Steve calls it like get what you need or like fill up your cup type day, where it's, they've played 3 games in 5 days. And typically a Mike Brown team would be practicing the next day. It would be a 2-hour practice. And, he didn't like how they missed these defensive rotations. So you're going to go, over film over all of this, where Steve would be like, I think the guys need to go play some golf today or, go do whatever they want on their off day, run some errands. And he'd be like, really? We're taking an off day today? Okay, I guess. And I think he will take more of a Steve Kerr approach than he ever did back in his prior head coaching days. But also he's not going to go full Steve Kerr. He's also, I think, still going to kind of have that disciplinary style. But I just think his style will be morphed a little bit more like that.
Last one, because I know you have to go. You got a busy day. Thanks for joining us on a game day,
Seriously.
by the way.
Yeah.
Do you have any read on like assistants? Would he try to poach anyone from Golden State, or is that tough to say at this point?
It's very early. I mean, he's still got potentially a month ahead of coaching.
Right.
Pretty high level, games, including tonight. You're mentioning, he's trying to stop the Grizzlies tonight. I'm curious how his staff comes together. I mean, he just was the head coach of the Nigerian national team. I know like Jordy Fernandez was one of his lead assistants. That's a guy he's close with in the league. Kenny Atkinson I would not say is probably coming, because Kenny Atkinson, I think, is still up in the running for other head coaching jobs. But, there are other assistants on the bench, Chris Weems, Chris DeMarco, Leandro Barbosa, like guys that work close with Mike. But one thing I would say, it'll be difficult and expensive to lure any coach from the Warriors, just because they pay well and they are just, they are who they are. I mean, they're about to probably go to the finals, and people's careers get trampolined from the Warriors, as you're seeing with Mike Brown, right? So it might be hard, but he's really well respected and really well connected in the league. So I would expect him to have a good staff. I just don't know what it'll be at this point.
Well, Anthony, thanks so much for carving out a little time with us. We appreciate it, man, and hopefully we'll catch up with you soon, man.
All right, thanks for having me.
Bye,
That's the
Anthony.
one and only Anthony Slater. He is
Hell
the
yeah.
man.
So
dude.
nice of him to join us on a game day.
Yes. That was awesome. Good perspective.
I love it.
What jumped out to you?
Just hearing, again, we already had read Slater's piece about the adjustments Mike Brown has made as a coach, evolving and understanding like, hey, be a little bit more loose. Understand guys need to fill their cup per se on those off days and make sure that they're taking care of themselves as well. So hearing that again from Anthony Slater, but then also understanding that Steve Kerr is saying that to a team that has proven and shown trust that they are going to execute things on the floor. Now, what will Mike Brown's stance be when this team is losing? On those days, is it still, off day, fill your cup, or is it off day, let's practice?
And if there's more pressure coming from up above, like, hey,
Right.
we got to get this going, does he become a little more rigid?
Or is the trust going to be there? And even hearing like what he was saying about, what the Golden State Warriors do with the assistant coaches and having the freedom to talk to everyone, will that trust be here with his coaching staff? And not only that, the last thing he was talking about, like you said, is he going to poach anyone? Well, it's going to cost some money. So are the Kings willing to give him the money that he needs to get the coaching staff?
They better.
That's how
I
I
don't
feel.
care. Here's a blank check. Do people use checks or here's
Blank check.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of an old school. When was the last time you filled out a check? You
there's-
don't do it all the time.
No, there's
If-
small businesses that
Oh,
want to
God.
check.
If I'm at the grocery store and I see some old person
That's rude.
bust out
That
the
is-
checkbook,
you are an
I
ageist
grab that
asshole.
thing and
No.
I throw it.
No.
See Mike D'Antoni in line, I'm taking that away.
And then you kick him to the ground.
Real fast. We appreciate Anthony stopping by. I need a favor from all you guys watching us live on YouTube, watching us live on Twitch. If you're in the YouTube chat, the best thing you could do to help us grow, hit that thumbs up button. Let's get that going. That should be well over 200. Easy. Get that thumbs up going. You can also hit the subscribe button. That helps us grow. If you're in the Twitch chat, you hit the follow button. You can also sub if you want. I want to give a shout out to the name I always mess up, Morgan.
Ooh.
Hell yeah.
Dobro.
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 You think I'll ever get that? Dobro?
Yeah. Dough, like bread dough.
Bro.
Bro. Not
like
hard.
Matt Riddle.
Literally,
Bro.
you know how to say the most difficult names in the G League
Dobro.
when we're calling games, but you can't say Dobro or Dobro.
Bro. Anyway, he donated $5. Appreciate him. We got much
Hell
more coming up, and including some things on Mike Brown's offensive staples. But first, we should mention that today's podcast presented by our friends over at Revitalize.
Hell yeah. Rehydrate, recover, repeat. You know what it is. It's basically an adult Pedialyte, right? It's just better because only stupid babies drink Pedialyte. You're an adult, you drink Revitalite.
So if you're going to Rayleigh's, you're going to Bel Air. What? You go to the alcohol aisle, pick up some Broken Skull IPA. And then you go, oh, there's some Revitalite right there. I'm picking up a bottle. Go with my favorite flavor, purple.
Grape.
Purple.
Great.
It's purple, and it tastes delicious. Also, like, you can use it even if you don't drink.
Yeah, if you're working out and you just want to make sure you're rehydrating, getting the electrolytes that you need, Revitalite is the way to go.
Yeah, so check them out at Rayleigh's or Bel Air. You can also go to drinkrevitalight.com. We're also presented today by a New York Times best-selling author. She's been at the top of the Amazon charts, including last week when her latest book, Count to Three, was number 2 on Audible downloads.
Give me a hell yeah.
T.R. Reagan, man, she's killing it because she writes such compelling, amazing thrillers. And that's why millions and millions of people have read her stories. So if you've not read her stories yet, make sure to go check out T.R. Reagan's work. You can go to trreagan.com or you can search on Amazon, type in T.R. Reagan. You can see all of her books right there. If you're an audio listener, you can get it there. If you're a Kindle reader, you can get them there. If you're a hard copy reader, you can get them all there. And what's so great too, there's always these deals that go on. So make sure just to take a look at it once in a while and you're going to see what deals she might have on some of these books.
So make sure to check that out. Also, if you have a small business and you want to join forces with Deuce and Mo, just go to deuceandmo.com, click on contact. We appreciate everyone's support of the Deuce and Mo
I
podcast.
don't know why I'm flexing.
I don't know. Why not?
Yeah. Why not?
I saw an interesting stat from our guy, Will Z, and
yeah.
it was taking a look at some numbers for Mike Brown. And you talk about offensive rating. It's been a minute since he's been a head coach. Remember, 7 full seasons as a coach. He had that 5-game stint with the Lakers where he was like a season and then 5 games into the next season. So can you really take anything from that? The answer is no. It's 5 games. So some numbers, and Will Z went over the average ranks for offense, defense, net rating, and pace
Hell
with
yeah.
Mike Brown in his 7 full seasons as a head coach.
Okay.
The average offensive rating, 12.7.
Okay.
Defensive rating, 10.1. So top 10 defensive team. Net rating, 10th. That's a really great number. Pace was 21st.
Okay.
Okay. Then you look at the Kings last season, they were 25th in offensive rating. Oh my God.
Hey, be nice.
27th in defensive rating.
Very bad.
Net rating of 25, and pace was 8th. So those are some interesting numbers, and I think there's been so much made of Mike Brown as a defensive coach.
Yeah.
Defensive-minded. His offenses in Cleveland, they weren't good. And I went, well, context, LeBron James and not a lot around him. So what could it look like in the future?
Yeah.
What could it look like with the Sacramento Kings? Of course, I think the best coaches evolve to the talent around them. You're not going to run certain offenses if you have Deuce Sabonis on your squad, right? You're going to want to have some ball movement, off-ball movement. You're going to have some high post stuff at the elbow. There's a lot of different things you can do with Sabonis and with Fox, right? We came across a video that FIBA put out, and it is Mike Brown doing a coach's clinic where he is on the court. He's got like 5 people with him to demonstrate, 5 players, and he's talking to hundreds of coaches who are there. And he was talking about his 3 staples of offense.
Yeah.
He tries to keep it simple with offense and defense. You have your 3 staples, and then you kind of branch off of that.
Yep.
But I thought it was intriguing because we're all trying to figure out, okay, what is he now as a coach, right? Like, and let's also note that this video was done in 2018. So he was with the Warriors, but the game has even changed since 2018.
Absolutely.
So his 3 staples on offense, he says, are pace, space, and 0.5.
Let's start with the pace, because not only is that word fun to hear, right? Pushing the pace, understanding the pace. But with Mike Brown, he was also talking about how there's pace in a half-court offense. And what that means is not going through the motions. That's if you are setting a screen for your point guard, you're not lollygagging up to your point guard to set that screen because that's what the play is. No, you're getting your ass to your point guard, setting a nice hard screen and allowing him to go off your body. It's all about timing. It's all about speed. Loved seeing him talk about that.
So that's obviously important, especially, everyone, like you said, everyone talks about pace. You have De'Aaron Fox, but it's right. It's not just, hey, push up and down the floor.
No.
You're right. It's everything has to be quick, decisive. Let's go. The other thing he talks about is space, right?
Yeah.
Spacing, a lot of times you do need shooting. That obviously helps, and spacing with the Warriors looks pretty good when you got Clay, Curry, and Poole out there.
Yeah.
It's pretty remarkable. But he talks about breaking down the floor in quadrants and, assigning players to a quadrant, right? Making sure there's never guys bunched up. You've got, the guy bringing up the ball. You've got the trailer big, you got the rim, you've got the dunker spots.
And that's it though, too, you guys, because you look at spacing and the Sacramento Kings, it feels like the last 2 seasons thought 5 out was that spacing. That doesn't do shit for a team that, that doesn't know how to maximize their talent off ball anyway, right? So you look at the way he's talking about spacing. If the team makes sense to have 2 bigs in those dunker spots, that's obviously a little bit more in on that baseline, right? Instead of being out in that corner 3. But not only that being a quadrant, understanding that the wing spots being a quadrant is an entire area. It's not going out to the sideline. It's understanding how far in you can come in, even into the 3-point line, right? That is your quadrant. That is your space. Being disciplined and understanding these spaces is how Mike Brown keeps his team and players accountable, right?
So we mentioned pace, we mentioned space. I think a lot of coaches believe in that. The other thing he talks about is 0.5. 0.5 being make a quick decision. He says, I want my guys to make quick, intelligent decisions. You have 0.5 seconds to make a decision.
And I love that because what else he was saying about this is basically, don't just hang on to the basketball. Like, know what you want to do before you even have the basketball in your hands. Oh, okay, what's my personnel? Who is guarding me? How close are they playing me? Are they giving me enough space where I can take this shot, or I should be blowing by them and then finding the guy open in the corner for 3? It's all those things. Basketball IQ, you should understand at obviously a very high level, but there's a lot of guys on this squad that need to be taught those things, right? Because if you just tell De'Aaron Fox 0.5, make a quick decision, he still, to me, his quick decision is blow by his guy. Just go to the rack, head down, go downhill, boom, go. That can't be your only decision. It's not only to be like, oh, well, be a facilitator and make sure you're going downhill. No, there's so many different options out of it. You got to be able to understand all of those options, and you have to be able to execute those options.
He also talks about flow. He doesn't want to be in a situation where he has to micromanage. When you get a rebound and you're going, It's the ability to attack in transition. It's the early offense. It's the half-court offense. He doesn't want to have to call something out. He wants the players on the floor, especially the guy, De'Aaron Fox, running the show, Davion Mitchell, to know exactly how to read the situation and go. Like, I don't need to be – defenses are too good. The whole point is in defenses in the NBA, with the length that they have, their ability to move around, you want to get them on their heels and get attacking early so they can't match up with you. If you take a while, if you don't do 0.5, if you don't have the quick decisions, if you're looking over the sideline at Mike Brown looking for a play call, you're allowing your defense to get set.
Absolutely.
A lot of this stuff is pretty basic stuff, but it's also interesting to hear Mike Brown talk about
in that flow and not allowing guys to obviously not understanding how to run their lanes, right? A lot of this with this pace and the way that his offensive philosophy would work, a lot of guys go to the weak side. So there's 3 guys on the weak side, but as soon as things are starting to come into play and you need to play more of a half-court offense, your guys are talking. Your wing's talking to the guy in the corner and push through. He's coming down in a flex cut, cutting across baseline to the next corner. So really understanding that flow and not even having to say it at some points, just giving the eye and having that chemistry to talk without even using your words on the offensive end. That's the flow. That's the flow of basketball. That's how it should be. But that's why Mike Brown has to teach this King squad, this roster, how to play basketball the right way. He can't just be like, all right, flow, because you guys all get that. These guys don't get that. They're going to have to be taught flow. And some people are going to say too, Deuce, well, guys should know that at this level, at the NBA level. That's not true, because a lot of these guys come from AAU in college and they were the best and they just depend on their athleticism or their speed or whatever it was and never truly learned the game.
Yeah, and this is the stuff that for players sometimes could be boring when you're not moving on the floor, where you are walking through and there's a lot of talking. I would say the one thing that jumped out to me with the video we watched on Mike Brown doing that coaches clinic was he's very good at explaining things. Like, he breaks it down in a way, he understands how to put it out there for players to get, but he repeats it. It's very
in a timely manner.
You can tell, like, he's an organized guy. And I mean, obviously we've heard that from many people, including Anthony Slater, talking about how, organized he is and has been almost rigid at times, minute by minute. But I think that type of structure is exactly what this Kings team has needed. I think mistake that Walton and even Gentry made, because Gentry really didn't change things after he took over as interim, I think they wanted their teams to flow,
to play free,
but there was almost too much freedom when you don't know how to play. Like, it's one thing to play free, like Gentry's old teams in Phoenix, or when you had AD in New Orleans, or
LeBron James,
or with being an assistant. Both those guys were assistants with the Golden State Warriors. Flow. It's a little easier to have some flow when you got Steph Curry running around off ball. You got Clay. Now you've got Poole attacking. You got Draymond's ability to handle
on-court manager.
That's easier to have the flow and the freedom, total freedom. This team doesn't have that at this point. And so it's so important for, Fox and Sabonis to build that chemistry. But offense, I mean, to me, day one, it's defense. Sure. Obviously, there's offensive things that they're going to have to learn, but defense priority.
And what's so great, you guys, about Mike Brown's offensive philosophy and fundamentals from this video, with even that pace being pushed, whether it's in half court, understanding half court, or even full court. When it's full court, it's about getting that outlet out. It doesn't matter who the outlet goes to at some points. When you want to get that ball out, fill in the other lanes. Oh, you got the ball out to the wing, push down middle. De'Aaron, go down sideline, boom. However you need to do it, push that damn ball out. And how that will work too, you guys, is defensively contesting those shots and forcing your opponents to take bad shots, miss shots. So then when you get the rebound, you chuck it out. When you get your hand in the passing lane and to deflect a ball and slow things down, you get that out and push on the offensive end.
I do think the Kings upgraded their basketball IQ as a team when you draft Davion Mitchell.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like he has a good understanding of how to read the floor. He's obsessed. He's a film guy. I think Mike Brown is going to love working with someone like Davion Mitchell because he is obsessed, probably just like Mike Brown is. And Brown did like him when the Golden State Warriors worked him out. But Sabonis is also a guy who is such a smart player, right? He understands
That's what I wanna
how
talk
to
about.
set screens the right
Yep.
way, how to create space, how to keep the ball
Timing.
moving. Yeah. And so some of this timing, I think it's just, it'll work out. Like, I'm not saying that the Kings are, I think they've had too much freedom at times, but you have to also look at, there's a pre-Sabonis Kings and a
There we go.
post-Sabonis Kings. And what we saw was De'Aaron Fox took another leap with Sabonis.
Yep.
And I have to imagine that them getting in a training camp together is going to help things dramatically.
Maximize De'Aaron Fox off-ball movement, how he needs to be taught. Tell him how. Show him how. Tell him those things that are just going to benefit his game on a different level. And I think he can execute that. And I believe with someone like Sabonis, who is a high IQ player, was commanding so much movement, but sometimes guys were moving without a purpose. And that purpose is going to be found when they are taught how to play basketball correctly on the offensive end. And Sabonis is a great start to that foundation on the offensive end.
Yeah, and I think part of it, it's hard to build chemistry in, the latter portion of the season when there's not practice time either. Like,
Yeah.
the Kings are playing a ton of games, a lot of road games. You're not going to have a ton of practice. We should note this.
Hell yeah.
The Sacramento Kings have made it official. Mike Brown has been announced as the new head coach. Here's a quote from Monty McNair. Mike has consistently demonstrated his ability to lead winning teams throughout his long and successful coaching career. He has worked with some of the best players in the NBA and is one of the league's premier defensive minds. I am excited to bring his extensive experience to Sacramento. Then they kind of go over
His resume.
his resume, which we've gone over 800 times
Yeah.
in the lead up to this. But it's official. The Kings have announced it. He is the head coach of the
Let's
Sacramento Kings.
Effing go. You know what I love? My favorite thing about this podcast so far today is that it feels like,
Why did he play it like
because it's like basketball porn. We are actually talking about the floor and what's going to happen on the floor. And it just gets me. I love it so much. I hope this is something that we get to talk about next season. How many times, game after game, we had to be so generic because you couldn't break down certain defensive plays because it's like, well, that just had to do with effort and heart again. That had to do with this. I am so excited. And again, I need to keep my expectations here, but I'm hopefully excited about talking about breaking down the defense and a guy just being off on his timing or a guy being great and keeping his hands up the entire time on the defensive end. There's so many things that are fun to talk about on the basketball floor. And I feel like we're going to get that opportunity this season. Am I just too excited?
No, it's exciting. It's something new. It's something new to be excited about. Sure. I mean, it doesn't mean it's going to be a great thing. Who knows?
No.
But I think Mike Brown is a good hire. I don't think anyone can sit here and be like, that's an awful hire. Except we've got NBA old boy with Zen Master chiming in.
Ooh.
You guys are just being good liberals, but this is a bad hire. Womp, womp, womp.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry you feel that way, NBA old boy with Zen Master.
We are just pushing this liberal agenda with Mike Brown. Why would you push that?
Push the agenda.
Let's talk about it.
I love those guys.
Also, shout out to, I think it was Mark, who just wanted a hell yeah. I want to give everyone a hell yeah who's watching us live.
Appreciate the thumbs up. Appreciate everyone being here in the Twitch and the YouTube. You guys are all just fan-effing-tastic.
And a lot of people were giving me love for my hat today.
Wow, it's a new. Hey, he went to the Kings team store, got some new hats because he was like, it's time for a change.
Because my head looks like Jokic right now. When Jokic is, shout out to Jokic, 2-time MVP. I don't even want to get started on that because I'm sure we got some Embiid truthers here. We got all that. We're gonna try to knock down Jokic because his team's not playing right now. But I'm getting that puffy.
You're getting that puff. Here we go.
Thank you.
You're gonna have to yeah.
So another thing on Mike Brown real fast.
Yeah.
I've talked a lot about some of the guys he's been surrounded with from early in his coaching career with Bernie Bickerstaff in Washington, mentioned Greg Popovich, and becoming Carlisle's lead assistant, then getting the head coaching gigs now with Steve Kerr. He's also been around some pretty talented assistant coaches. We went over the full list yesterday. Mike Malone, former Kings coach, is one of those guys too. But Quinn Snyder spent a year with him with the Lakers. And those two matched up again in the playoffs when Mike Brown was filling in for Steve Kerr when he had the health issue.
Yeah.
And Quinn Snyder loves him some Mike Brown.
I love to hear that.
I was reading an article from 2017, and they were talking about the conversations that Quinn Snyder and Mike Brown had when Brown was with the Lakers. They had the lockout, so you're not allowed to talk to any of the players. So, when you're basketball nerds like Mike Brown, Quinn Snyder, what are you doing? You're probably sitting around the office watching film, talking, being obsessed, trying to tinker and figure out, all right, what can we do when we get back in the building and with the players, get our hands on these guys? It was during those conversations that Snyder learned how to best break down the nuances of defensive schemes. He credits Brown for helping him build one of the league's best defenses in Utah.
Wow.
Brown was a privilege and pleasure to work for, Snyder said. That year was a year of full growth. It was a very rewarding year. Snyder appreciated Brown's attention to detail, the way he color-coded practice reports and pored over scouting reports. For Brown, Snyder's easygoing, effective communication style most impressed him. So I hear that stuff. And you know what I love about that? It's not just Snyder slobbering over Mike Brown. Like, he's a good defensive coach.
He's breaking down the why he likes him so much.
No, it's not only that.
Oh,
it's
what?
Mike Brown taking something from Quinn Snyder. You know what I mean? Like, there's some of these coaches in the league, they've got egos. When you're a head guy, it's like, I'm the head coach.
Yeah.
My assistants. The best organizations, like, it's a squad. Like, they are together.
Collaborative.
Oh, my God. So Brown's learning from Quinn Snyder. He's learning from Steve Kerr. He's learning from Popovich and Carlisle and all the assistants he's been around in the NBA. That gives me even more optimism about his evolution. And now, is it going to work out in Sacramento? I don't know. I think Mike Brown is the right guy for the job, but there are 800 different factors that can determine whether or not this is going to be a success with Mike Brown as the head coach. One is the trust, is the patience. How many people from the Bay Area who know Mike Brown, including Anthony Slater, we talked about John Dickinson yesterday, have been talking about, like, got to have some patience here. You got to have some stability. They gave him a 4-year contract, but, in Sacramento, what's that mean? They usually fire him after year 2. So
understand the patience. Understand, like, hello, this is how life works with anything, right? You have to give things time. And I know it's been 16 years. We can't use the word patience here. Too bad. That's how basketball works. That's how developing works. That's how growth works. So hopefully it can go a little quicker now that someone like Domantas Sabonis, a 2-time All-Star, is here to help maybe make things go a little bit faster in the right direction. De'Aaron Fox going into his 6th season, being more mature than ever and understanding what he has to add as well as a teammate. Hopefully that fast tracks thing a little bit, but that trust, you're so right, Deuce. There's so many things that factor in, even when you go to the logistics of roster construction and you just go down the line with that.
We can't be hearing hot seats. We can't be hearing that dysfunction. Like, give them the time to put something together and see what they do next year. It's a big season for sure, but let's be honest about it as well. I did want to get to a couple of comments. I thought, God, we're getting so many comments. Shout out to everyone just in the chat in general. We appreciate that. I guess we'll go to the poll question. How do you feel about the Mike Brown hire? 45% of people say, oh, hell yeah. Give me a hell yeah. 48% of people saying, we'll see.
I appreciate that. That's super realistic. I told Deuce, with everything we talk about, I'm so much more of a surface level, on the fence type of person where I can't sit here today. I think that's realistic though, right? And I think being here today and being like, yeah, we'll wait and see, because track record shows nothing has worked. No one has changed anything. And sometimes that has to do with, other things in the front office getting in the way. So hopefully that isn't something we have to talk about going into this season, especially with a new GM. I say new because it's a newer GM with his new coach and his 3rd draft pick coming up.
Yeah. And for Brown, professionally, this is significant, right? Because this could be his last opportunity at a coaching gig. Like, if this doesn't work out, he's probably not getting another head coaching gig. If it works out, he could be in Sacramento for a long time, which I think all Kings fans would want, is a coach being here for like 7 years.
Yeah.
8 years. Like, that would be amazing results.
A miracle.
Or, other coaches see what he's done in the first couple of years and goes, I want to poach that guy. Like, That's for Mike Brown. If he can have improvement in Sacramento, it can go a long way. I'm not acting like it's a guarantee. And, I see the conversation going on in the chat a bit too about, this was a safe hire for the Kings. And I just think it's almost being unfair. Like, I don't know what that means. Safe. So you're saying like maybe he'll get results. I think Sacramento needs their fan base, the organization needs some sort of positive traction going forward. And if Mike Brown rather is able to get this team to be really competitive and fun again, it would do wonders not only for the fan base, for the players in the locker room. I think for that culture inside the walls too.
That's it. We've talked about the product on the floor. That is what my expectations, my hopes. That is going to be the biggest change. Now, hear me out, because the biggest change is probably not going to be the win-loss column for the most part. I say that because you look at the Western Conference that we looked at the other day. We went over every team of what teams look like. Okay, they're probably going to get better. They're getting these guys back. They're getting this back. So in the Western Conference, I don't expect the Kings to be this top-tier team. But at the same time, if I'm watching a product and watching losses where it's like, man, that other team is just better, but the Kings look like they're showing improvement, I'm not going to be satisfied, but I will be definitely happier with that type of growth.
What would you deem a successful year then? And I know we're jumping ahead because we don't know the personnel moves. We don't know like the draft pick. We don't know what moves can be made.
I think so many people put a number on like, well, the wins being a 37 or something. And it's like, I'm not going to put a number on it. What I would deem is like the eye test. Is the product, is this roster, is this team a better basketball team than it was last season? Now, that shouldn't be that hard. It really shouldn't be that hard. But Deuce, that for me would mean that there was improvement. That they didn't fail in that season. And that's probably what that's going to probably mean though too, that some numbers are going to go up. Their defensive rating, their offensive rating. But I'm not going to put a number on where I need to see that in this league to be like, that's success.
What do you think about this tweet?
Ooh.
Our guy Tom. Would be epic. It would be an epic move if Deuce Mason doesn't cut his hair until the Kings make the playoffs.
So gross.
I couldn't do that.
No.
There's like the shaving the head thing was one thing, but getting to the point where I'm not cutting it. Could you imagine?
Ew, dude. Ew. No.
I would look like Steve Nash with the Suns.
Yeah, I think even worse. Like,
okay, now,
you would.
Can you be worse than Steve Nash with the Mavs or Suns?
Yes, you absolutely can. Like Steve Nash kind of rocked it, just like a little flow. As soon as the sweat came, it had a nicer look. It had a nicer look with the sweat. See?
Are you kidding me?
Now go to the flowy one. The flowy when
This
it's
one?
dry.
Stop
when
it.
it's dry, like that's absolutely stringy and awful. Like disgusting. No, absolutely
Morgan, no
not.
one thinks Nash actually looked good back there.
Honestly, how is that? He looks like Adam Cole, baby.
It bites your tongue.
He kind of does.
He does not look like Adam
How
Cole,
does he
baby.
not?
Adam Cole's way better looking.
Smaller white dude, long hair, wet hair. There you go.
Man. No, I am not doing that.
Look at that.
That would be a gross gimmick. Terrible gimmick.
Awful. No more hair stuff. Okay. Like, let's just keep it cool over here.
Let's see here. Dara says Deuce could do the beard like Barnes did for a season. God, can you imagine if I don't shave until the Kings make
Your beard hair would be so patchy and stringy, I think. I can't tell. I think it would be. It looks like it's grown a lot since you started growing it.
I know.
Not complimenting you, just stating a fact.
Robinson says I would look like Luis Scola. Oh, dude, Luis Scola's hair is kind of gross.
Oh,
too.
that's gross. Yeah, no, that. That would be, what, like, would you put a product in it? Like, what would you do?
I'm not. I would never.
Yeah,
do that.
no. This isn't happening. So
Me with long hair does not work at all.
yeah, not cool.
Let's see.
Dude, and thanks so much to so many people who have become members, especially on the YouTube, and to everyone also on the Twitch channel that have subscribed. It just means so much. You're helping out us, a small business, and we just appreciate it.
We're going to take a brief pause for a second because I have to tinkle. Morgan will chat with you guys. This will be a pause break in the audio version. This is a note exclusively for me editing this later. Beep. Okay, be right back.
Oh my God. He didn't even say tinkle time. That's good. No, you didn't. You said you have to go to the bathroom or something. I don't even know what he said. Yeah, we're done talking about Deuce's hair, even though you guys are still talking about it. No, not a mohawk. How about a mohawk if the Kings don't make the playoffs again? No. And besides, I think, no, I don't think, I know. Goals for this team, they should believe and think that they can make the playoffs, that they can be a postseason team. I don't believe that. And that's just going by track record and what the roster, how it's constructed right now. But at the same time, do I see that push realistically for that 10th spot? Absolutely. You half the teams, it seems like, make the play-in and in this league. And so why can't that be the Kings this next season, especially if they do take that leap, that growth with that product on the floor like I'm talking about? I don't know. But I'm not calling it a failure if they don't make that, because first year.
Maybe he has a Rick Adelman-like impact in Sacramento. That's what we all hope for.
Right,
Trust
but
me.
like, don't.
No, can I just be honest?
Yeah.
Can I just be honest?
You can be honest.
Because this is what I do. And I think if anyone has listened to us for a long time, when something new is here, I end up talking myself into something.
Always. You would have done this if it was Mark Jackson.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think Mark Jackson might get another shot too.
I think he should get another shot.
Okay.
I absolutely think he should get a shot as a head coach in this league. And that's more just going off of what so many players and so many people have tweeted about him, talked about him, and said. And that matters. It matters. But thank God Mike Brown is here.
So I think Rick Adelman was around 52-ish when he got hired by the Kings.
Okay.
And you think about Rick Adelman's coaching journey. That time in Portland where they made the NBA Finals twice.
Mm-hmm.
Then he goes to the Golden State Warriors, and it's a messy situation. It's a train wreck. 2 years, he's out. Then it's like, what's next for Rick Adelman? He was in talks to take the Portland State job.
Crazy.
Portland State. And that's when the Kings called up. They kind of whittled down their coaching search back in that 98-99 year to Scott Skiles, who's that young, hot guy that like a lot of people were still into.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Silas was the other guy, and it looked like it ended up being between Silas and Adelman. Petrie had a relationship with Adelman, Jeff Petrie, the former president of basketball ops, and they hired Rick Adelman. He was a retread at that point, coming off a point where he had a successful run, but the same kind of things were talked about.
Yeah.
The reaction to the hire, not in 98, no one was going, "We got Adelman, let's go." Just like today, no one's going, "We got Mike Brown, let's go."
Right.
I think it was kind of like, oh, he could be a solid guy. He had some great pieces with the Blazers. They were never able to win it all. Mike Brown had a great piece with the Cavs, never able to win it all. Then Adelman has that spot with the Golden State Warriors that falls flat. Brown, the Lakers run, even the first year wasn't that bad, but then the last couple of, you had the Lakers, that 5-game stint, and then going back to Cleveland, weird year, chaotic. They bring him back on a 5-year deal. He gets blown out after 1 year because they changed GMs. I'm not saying he's going to be Rick Adelman, but it's interesting to hear the conversations about each guy, and they actually have similar win totals at that same age, which I think is interesting. That's all.
Respect the unknown, right? Like, understand that we don't know what's going to happen. I think so many people want to put it on like, his resume was this, so we know that this is going to happen. No, you don't know that things are going to be great. You don't know that things are going to be awful. So just understand that there is the unknown and enjoy that part. And then we can make our judgments even after this first season. After the first 5 games, don't get too high. Don't get too low, right?
Yeah. We'll definitely get too high or too low.
Absolutely, but my point is don't. Don't. Like,
the first
remember
3 games,
this. Don't.
The defense looks respectable. We're like, it's turned around. Which, by the way, I remember. I have been watching the Kings long enough to remember Musselman's first year in Sacramento. And they got off to, I believe, a 5-3 start, and the defense kind of looked respectable. And people are like, man, he's getting this team to play defense. This is what it's about. And we know how that ended up.
So just keep it cool.
Super chat donation from King Alex.
What up, Alex?
Appreciate you. He asked, would Sacramento trade Barnes plus a pick for a big piece? I mean, one, it depends where the pick is, but I would not be surprised. I mean, they're limited as to what the pieces they can move. Let's just live in the world that Fox and Sabonis are not getting moved. Right?
Yeah.
Does Harrison Barnes have a market in the NBA? Absolutely. I'm curious what that means. The guys that I'm looking for, because I'm looking for bigger splashes. Like, could you work out something with Atlanta for John Collins?
Or get Jeremy Grant.
Jeremy Grant, to me,
That's a splash to me.
Huge.
Yes.
And I understand there's some people who are like, yeah, but what kind of role does he want? What can he? I think they could carve out a role that would be great for him here in Sacramento.
Great problem to have.
And I also just think the versatility with him being able to defend multiple positions, have some length. I think he has shown that he can be a really solid scorer in the league. He's a good player. I like Jeremy Grant, but you know one team that's going to be in on him? The Blazers. The Blazers are a team that we'll talk more about during the offseason. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I think everyone's like, oh, man, they're going to rebuild. They're going to blow it up. They're not. I think they're building. They think they can attract someone. They have cap
Dame,
space.
Simons.
They could take on a big contract. Yeah.
Yeah. They look awful. They looked bad this last season, right? And there's no reason why, though, with a healthy Dame Lillard, you can't do something different. You can't and be attractive to other NBA players. Plus, they have the most strip clubs in Portland. In all of these NBA cities.
What?
Yeah.
That's not true.
I'm almost positive it's
Portland
true.
has more strip clubs.
Or the best. It's either the best or the most.
Okay, I'll give you the best. Okay. So you think that's a draw for NBA players?
Absolutely. What NBA city has the most strip clubs?
This is so stupid.
Well, you know what? Guys are weird.
I mean, I feel like Atlanta, Miami's on the phone. So.
No, Miami just has clubs.
Per capita from multiple people in the chat. We have some experts here, Morgan. Some experts here.
What?
The baby daddy per capita. Brett drops a per capita. We have people here who know their stuff.
Oh, okay.
CJ just donated $10 super chat. We got an all-star. We got our coach. If we get a top 3 pick, who would y'all want? Whoa.
Appreciate the donation, CJ.
Whoa. Look at you getting all fired up. Talk about optimism.
We're getting the number 1 pick, so.
Oh, okay.
You've said that so many times.
I mean, we're not there at the draft part yet. We're actually, after this podcast, we're diving into some draft preparation, what we're going to do from a content perspective for the draft night, draft lottery, up to the draft. We got much more homework to do. I've seen enough of Jabari Smith to tell me that I would love to have that guy on this team.
Yeah.
So I like Jabari Smith, but there's some talented players in this draft too.
That to me is easy, fair to say, just because of obviously all the attention that's been surrounding him. So then you get to see more of Jabari Smith. But there's other guys that we're just not talking about. The narrative around them isn't what it should be. And once that gets pushed, they will also become more popular.
Can we get to a couple of NBA topics, Morgan Reagan?
Yeah, what you got?
Well, a couple of things I feel like this topic's getting blown up a little bit, and it's the Ja Morant, Jordan Poole thing.
Yeah.
And talking about dirty players. I've got to be honest, I've been really disappointed by this series because each game there's been some sort of shit going on.
Okay.
It started with that first game with Draymond and Brandon Clark. Then it went to what we saw with Dylan Brooks on Gary Payton II. And then what we just witnessed with Poole and Morant. Why are we, and I'll give credit to the Warriors here. Okay. The Warriors are not even really talking about this. They've been asked this question. They responded the first day, but Kerr's kind of pushed it away. Otto Porter. This might be one of the more ridiculous things that I have witnessed to suggest when you watch that Jordan Poole is trying to do something to his Ja Morant's knee. Are you kidding me?
So it's a petty, weird strategy that I feel like is being pushed by the Grizzlies. It's a narrative that they're trying to push. Why? Because Steve Kerr opened his mouth and talked about how Dylan Brooks is dirty, broke code, all these things, right? That not only to the players of the Memphis Grizzlies, you're talking about our guy, FU, right? But not only that, that could have helped also push for the suspension of Dylan Brooks. Could have helped. Then you look at this game and you have Jordan Poole accidentally pull the leg of Ja Morant while trying to swipe at the ball. And Ja Morant and the Grizzlies are trying to twist it into something that is dirty. When it is not dirty, it was not dirty. I feel like it's just a petty strategy trying to throw it back at them. Like, look at the crap that you're doing. But it's just not the same.
And some videos show that Ja actually did not injure that on that specific play. There was another play that it happened on, and they're pointing to that.
Yeah.
And it just bugs me. And I also like look around the league and you start talking about dirty players. I don't know that the league has many dirty players anymore. You've got players who
Compazzo.
on occasion do dirty things.
Yeah.
Compazzo comes to mind.
Dirty.
Grayson Allen.
Dirty. Definitely dirty. And like, even if he's not dirty all the time, those dirty moves that are made, didn't he have the one against Alex Caruso? Yes.
Grayson Allen?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if I look at Dylan Brooks as dirty.
No, I look at him as tough. That play that he made
Was a dirty play.
But I don't see him as
and that did break a code if you want. I don't even know if it's a code because it sounds like there's like some no, this is pretty simple. When you're a basketball player, you guys are all in the league together. You're all making money. You need to compete. It's playoff intensity.
Yes.
Give hard fouls, but don't do anything that could end someone's
boom
career or injure them or hurt them. And that's what Dylan Brooks did. The Jordan Poole thing is absolutely petty garbage, like you said, and I'm so sick of people acting like Jordan Poole is some dirty player.
Because he's not.
That's
and
not
that's
him.
so and it's so messed up to say that about someone like Jordan Poole who really does respect the game and has had this emergence. Let's not push that narrative and make him out to be this dirty player and create that reputation. I also don't want that reputation to be for Dylan Brooks. And I don't think it will be. Because, Deuce, you even look back into the other season when Valanciunas threw down freaking Chimeze Metu, and it's not like we see Valanciunas as a dirty player.
It was a
that
dirty
was
play.
a dirty play.
Right.
And so there is a difference there. Jordan Poole does not deserve any of this, but I also understand the emotions that are coming from the Grizzlies,
No.
and I'm not justifying it. I understand it.
They are playing this game, and Taylor Jenkins is pushing this narrative.
Yes.
And John Morant's unlikely to play game 4. They're pushing this for one reason, and it's because Jordan Poole is getting buckets on them. Jordan Poole, Steph's amazing, and I'm always going to respect Steph. I think he's great. Jordan Poole's been the best player for them.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Jordan Poole has been game-changing. When you look at the minutes when Steph is out and they don't miss a beat, it's because what Jordan Poole has brought to them. And it makes me sick as someone who watches the Kings because I look at Jordan Poole and go, great. Like, the Warriors are going to be a problem for years to come because you still have Steph, and even if he goes into the twilight, you got this guy in Jordan Poole who is becoming better and better before our eyes.
Screw them.
Yeah, that pisses me off a little bit.
Absolutely.
But like that's to me, they're trying to muck this up and trying to suggest that Poole should be suspended. I'm glad the league's not taking their bait.
Jaren Jackson Jr. and Jordan Poole played high school ball together. You become really close when you play high school ball and you play for a competitive high school team. Obviously, they played at a high level with their high school squad. I'm sure, even though guys are probably like, let's not talk during this time, I'm sure there has been some communication like Jordan Poole going, yo, JJ, like, I did not do anything dirty on that play. That is not part of my character. That is not who I am. So even if that's pushed that way, oh well, things are going to get chippy, even more physical. And I'm okay with it. Just make sure no one gets hurt, because when someone gets hurt and changes the landscape of what's going to happen, that's when I get pissed. Oh, we're calling it?
The bell tolls once. That tells you one thing.
You're so dramatic.
The series,
Yeah.
it's done, in my opinion.
I'm with you.
And this is not a disrespect to Memphis.
No.
But like, if John Morant's not able to play, they played well without him for sure this year.
Yeah.
This is different. I think Memphis is not completely ready for this.
And that's fine. That's something
No,
we stated
dude.
even before the postseason started.
They're going to be a problem for years.
Yeah.
John Morant has shown the ability to be fantastic.
And they got some guys on the cheap, too.
They have been really fun this year. I'm not trying to take anything away from them. I just like the Warriors. I mean, you saw the onslaught. The first couple of games were weird. Like the Warriors squeak out game 1, game 2. The Grizzlies get that game. But you look at games 1 and 2. The Warriors were 21 of 76 from three-point land. That's 27.6%. That is dreadful. Everyone was talking about, oh, can they stop Morant? Can they do this? Yeah, like Morant's going to be an issue. But my bigger issue with Golden State for the first couple of games was offensively. Like, Clay, let's play in the flow of the offense. Let's take some good shots. Game 3, you had Steph dropping 30. He was efficient, got to the line. He was 14 of 14 from the line. Clay was 8 of 13. Jordan Poole gave you 27 on 11 of 17. Game 3 from 3, they were 17 of 32.
Yeah.
First 2 games, 21 made threes combined. Game 3, 17.
Adjustments.
Last game is more what Golden State is compared to game 1
I
and
agree.
game 2, and they were still able to split in the first 2 games. I think this series is a wrap.
I agree. And I think also that goes to the way that Memphis had to make their adjustments, even with someone like Steven Adams, and finally seeing him on the floor, obviously. But he started the entire regular season, and then having to make that adjustment in these 7-game series to really make sure you are getting the most out of your guys as a complete team against the matchup you're going against. And I'm not acting like pros can play through that and figure it out. These guys are still young, and experiencing this on this level is still new to them. So these adjustments being made for them even is going to help their growth, their development going into next season. But yeah, it's just not their year. That's fair to say.
How surprised are you that the Suns and Mavs are tied up at 2 apiece?
I am surprised. I'm surprised if you just say that. Watching it though, it's like, what the hell are you doing? Even someone like Chris Paul being in foul trouble early on in this yesterday's game, but then in that second half, you said it too. You were like, hey, he's going to be smart. He's a smart enough player. He's going to be smart and figure it out. What he needs to do defensively to not draw any fouls. It wasn't even defensively. It was him with the ball running into Brunson as Brunson's going one way, which
They
I don't
never called
and
that.
they never
That
called
one,
that.
That one was irritating to me watching it because it wasn't necessarily obvious. And I know Chris Paul can trick some people.
That's
all right,
what he
He
does.
is so good at doing some
a
things.
strategy.
Like, come on, man. But man, did James Williams, the official, call so many questionable ones, from the Booker technical early, even the Luka one. I know he was talking. These guys got to talk a little bit. Yeah. These guys can go, like, he called Booker for.
So he was following his follow through, hit someone in the face, and he got teed up for it. Like, this was in the first quarter when this happened, and it was complete bullshit. It was like, let them play through it.
Yeah, I thought the officiating was poor for sure. But I also don't think that Phoenix has been locked in the last couple of games either. And, you know, they it's not like Luka destroyed them from the shooting perspective. They were getting destroyed from the 3-point shooting of Dallas, which we have seen before. It's not like some weird thing. Like, they will take some threes. Finney-Smith.
Dude.
Jordan Finney-Smith is such a good defensive player, and I love what he brings. To see his evolution, to be able to knock down some shots, I mean, it's a difference maker. And now you're in a spot where it's 2-2, and I don't know how to feel. Like, can Phoenix get it together? Sure they can, but Chris Paul has to play better. I felt like not only with the fouls yesterday, he took forever to try to give his imprint on the team with his scoring.
Yes.
And he's got to be aggressive looking for his. I saw him carve up the Pelicans at times in the first round.
And how many times have we seen Chris Paul do this even to great defenses, being capable of seeing where the open spot is on the floor for his sweet little midi, right? Or taking the correct three, the timing of that. His shot selection seems a little shaky right now. Like, the confidence isn't as in, and I say that and then watch, he's just going to go off. Great. We need to see him go off. That's the type of game the Suns need from him. But the Suns also, like, who was it? Was it Campaign that was like a hero last year? Or what? I think it was
he
like,
just hasn't been the same guy.
and he
this year.
just hasn't been, right? And even with Cam Johnson, who contributes, I was just hoping that this next leap would take from these guys. DeAndre DeAndre Ayton's another guy where sometimes you see him go to work down low and you're like, your footwork has taken a step. But what else can you do as a big and to be dominant with this team, especially when Kleba is the one that's their center, that is the guy down there, or it's Luka that's guarding you. You know what I mean? You need to go at Luka, get him in foul trouble. He was 1 for 10 from 3-point land yesterday, so not even contributing on that side, but also finding ways to score and find his teammates.
Oh, and Dallas has been a better job adjusting. Like, I feel like Jason Kidd has done a great job second half adjustments. It's seeing what worked well in the first half and going, okay, like just from the simple thing from games 1 and 2, you didn't see many Luka post-ups. Well, Luka's finding some mismatches now, and he's able to create something out of those at times. And then it helps when guys are knocking down shots around him. But for the Mavs, it's not only, of course, being engaged defensively, which I think they've done a much better job of making life challenging, but it is moving the ball. Because as talented as Luka is, when you get in certain situations where Luka is doing his thing and the guys are standing around, I just don't think you can do that during a game. But I think there's sometimes Dallas, they kind of do it a little too much.
Absolutely.
And they're at their best when you got Brunson attacking, getting into the paint, kicking out, moving that ball, making the extra pass. I've been impressed with Dallas the last couple of games. I thought after the first 2 that this might be a quick series for Phoenix, but I think Dallas is going to at least make it really interesting.
Yeah, they really are. And I'm excited to see what adjustments that Monty Williams and the Suns will make, because I don't want to see them go yet. I don't believe in the Mavs, which I think they can prove me wrong and show that they can overcome the Suns, and then I will think differently of them, of course. But right now, I'm like, I believe in the Suns being that next step, especially for the Warriors, and giving us a competitive series. But
I think one of the frustrating things for me watching NBA playoffs, I've dug the intensity for sure. I have definitely, I feel like at times they let the officials let them play, which is great.
yeah,
But the game shouldn't look that much different compared to the regular season. And I think the NBA has not done a good job of striking the balance. Now, are players going to be as engaged for middle of your good team and it's, February and it's the Suns and name a bad team, Suns and Kings.
Yeah.
Are the Suns going to be locked in all the time? No. So they're going to be more locked in for playoffs, all these playoff teams for sure. But the style, like that physicality is not happening in the regular season. The league needs to allow these guys to play a little more. And
absolutely.
I think some players struggle to adjust. It's like, wait, regular season, I get nicked a little bit. They're blowing the whistle. In the playoffs, I've seen guys take some shots.
It's
and
called
no calls.
a box out. No, but that's the thing, though. Even in the playoffs, though, Deuce, it has been ridiculous where times things are being called when a guy is putting a body on someone and boxing them out. A fundamental move and getting called for a foul for pushing them out with their body, doing the right thing. It's complete trash. I'm sick of it. I know it's in the regular season, but it's also been in this postseason where we got to review that because someone got hit in the face. Who cares?
Well,
It's a physical game. People are going to get hit in the face.
But that's what I'm saying, too, is the inconsistency with the calls. Like, we have seen so many times now where it's automatic. Someone gets hit in the face. And the players know this now.
Yeah.
This is what I don't think it's talked enough about is you get hit in the face now, you're selling it, and you're going like this for review.
Yep.
And the officials are like, well, he did get hit in the face. Let's review it. What does that do?
They got to change
stops
that.
the flow of the game completely. It allows those players to get a little rest. Don't think that doesn't come into the mind of a players when they're selling stuff too. Hey, like, can I get an extra minute and a half here to catch my breath, get some rest? It's all strategy. And I think we're seeing more flops than ever because now as the playoffs go on, you're right. They're reviewing everything.
You know how many black eyes I got throughout my entire career of playing basketball and things were not called? Because you get hit in the nose. You get hit, elbowed in the eye, in the face, wherever. Crap happens. And it just needs to be a play-on situation. Because sometimes it's going to be intentional. And guess what? When those times are use your instincts, use your, common sense and make that call.
Yeah.
But otherwise, let it be physical. My God.
Cole in the chat says the acting out there is getting better. NBA
It's like soccer.
is turning into pro wrestling. Dude, some of these things, and I get why the officials get tricked out there. It's tough. I'm not trying to act like this is some easy thing to officiate all the time, but I don't know the answer, the solution. I think I've enjoyed watching the playoffs for sure. I like the intensity, but I think there's been far too many stoppages to look at things that you look at and you go, it's not a big deal. And that I don't know what the league can do because they try to institute fines for flopping. They've tried some other things. You know what I want?
What?
If you go to review it and it's a player's flopping, that player has to come out of the game for 2 minutes.
Oh my God. Honestly,
Penalty
discipline,
box.
penalty.
You
Love
are going
it.
in the flop box for 2 minutes. You're gone. Get someone else in the game.
People get a laugh and point at you in the flop box. You have to wear like a dunce cap and everything,
Okay,
and
now we're
like sit in
getting
the corner.
crazy.
Like little kids have to.
I was trying to suggest something serious.
Well, it's honestly not that bad of an idea because you look at even yesterday's game with the Mavs. Luka, the amount of times he would exaggerate a play, and I'm like, this
Falling
is so
on the
like
ground.
Euro soccer league like movements from Luka, and you're seeing it happen. And yes, sometimes he's exaggerating it, and that's why it's getting the call. And I sometimes feel like officials are nervous because they're like, oh, we don't want one of the best players in the game pissed off. I don't care if they're pissed off. Be a little baby. I don't care. Shove them in the freaking flop box if you need to start doing that thing. But seriously, I'm so over it, and I'm not just blaming it on the officials like we're saying, because they are getting fooled. They are getting tricked.
I think the other thing that is lame on reviews sometimes is we saw it in the Jordan Poole play, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Poole, when you watch that in slow motion on John Morant, it kind of looks like, what is he doing? Is he trying to? But when you're watching that
just
full speed, you're seeing him
hands
digging for the ball. He's
moving.
digging for the ball, and he had made contact. It was a weird play. It happens.
Yep.
Whatever. And you watch that in slow motion, then all of a sudden you're really looking at it. These officials don't have the benefit of all these angles in slow motion. They've got to make, we talk about the Kings and Mike Brown and his emphasis on quick decision, 0.5. These officials, they've got to blow the whistle fast. You can't hesitate.
No.
So doing my whole point, we got to punish flopping more, and it can't be
Love
after the
it.
fact. It can't be some $15,000 fine that comes after the game. It has to be, we just reviewed this. You flopped your ass off. Not only did you waste our time with this review for us to look at it, you're gone for 2 minutes,
You're
90
gone.
seconds. I don't know what the time is.
Yeah, 90 seconds maybe. But even Matt on our chat says, on the floor with the size of the players, refs often have one of the worst views of the action. TV camera views are a lot better, would be better off with an extra ref up in the stands. I completely agree with that. Or I'm like, why when you go back and you review tape with everyone back in the ref office where everyone's looking at all the different screens and it looks like NASA back there, like, why don't you have someone make that decision there and be like, nope, actually, hey, Zach, you're good. Just keep the play going. It was a flop. Okay, no call. Let's go. Like, why aren't we doing those type of things and utilizing our technology and our resources?
Yeah. Replay in some ways has really hurt sports, the replay reviews, because it takes away the judgment. I think sometimes the officials will rely on it. And now these players, to their credit, they adjust so much to the game. And it's not only to the style of play, which is like spreading the floor.
Strategy.
You see the shooting and all that, but it's also that type of thing. Hey, I know all these players are watching games. Hey, sell that. If you get hit in the mouth, we can have them review it.
Yeah.
We
get a second break. We get this. We get this. They've got to be able to change. And these things can be changed because, like I just said, they have the resources and the technology to do so. But you got to make it quick, so then people aren't seeing season after season all these mistakes being made.
You ready for Game 4, Bucks-Celtics, Morgan Reagan?
Yeah, I am. I was disappointed in that last game for the Celtics a little bit. That just seemed like everyone was letting everything kind of get in their head.
They're a good team. They are a good team, and yeah, that last call, Marcus Smart should have been shooting 3 free throws. They missed that. And you look at that last 2-minute report from yesterday. It was a train wreck. I think there were like 5 missed calls in the final 2 minutes. And we have seen a lot of that so far with the officiating. But the game itself, the fact that Boston was able to stay in there when Tatum just was not shooting the ball well at all. I mean, it wasn't just missing outside, which he definitely missed from outside from 3-point land.
He's
but
missing
God,
bunnies.
he was missing the easiest looks ever. They hung in there. And then Giannis is just incredible. I don't really have a feel on this series. I think this is probably going to be a long one.
It's a fun one, right? In the way that the Celtics keep fighting back and their guys fighting through injury and just staying tough out there. I think the biggest thing that I've noticed that has changed their game is the way that they've allowed certain calls and things and momentum get in their head. So their mentality has to remain strong no matter what happens. Even on that play with Marcus Smart, that he's supposed to have 3 shots at the free throw line and didn't get it. You know, you just got to stay with it. And sometimes these refs, they're not robots. They're going to get stuff wrong. They're humans. And that's why I feel like we should take away the 2-minute report, because it's embarrassing seeing that like 5 different calls should have made different in the last 2 minutes.
The last 2-minute report is really tough because the league wants to
Be
show
transparent.
fans and media that we are transparent. Here are the calls we missed. Here's what happened.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make anybody feel better.
No.
Like who looks at the last 2-minute report and goes, well, I missed it. I'm happy. It's not like they go replay the last 2 minutes. It's not, nothing changes. They just go, hey, we did get it wrong. And I don't know that that makes anyone feel better. It's like, okay, you got to be better.
Yeah, it's almost like just let the fans and people, the millions of NBA content people that want to break down a video and be like, hey, the refs missed this. This is actually an illegal screen on so-and-so and it should have been called. Like, let that happen. I believe that the refs go back and look at their video anyway and say, hey, we should have made that call. So they're seeing the same thing as us, and just making it transparent, if anything, just makes everyone feel worse.
We got a big show tomorrow, too. On Tuesday, we're going to have Mark Jones, Sacramento Kings play-by-play man, and, of course, ESPN play-by-play guy. He will be on the show tomorrow. That'll do it for the audio portion. Stay on if you're on Twitch and YouTube. We're hanging out just to chat with you guys up until noon. We'll answer questions, have some fun. We appreciate everyone who watches live every single day. For the audio people, we love you, but we got to go.
You'll have a wonderful rest of your day. See ya.
Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo. They tell you what they know. Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo. The podcast that you know. Deuce and Mo.
All right, let's get some music going.
Ooh, I like it. You had it ready.
I was ready to go. Let's just hang out.
Oh, what's up, party people? I act like, oh, that was so hard. Now it's so different.
Well, with the podcast, you're like trying to keep up you're playing with pace, right?
Sure.
Like
Yeah. We're like that Mike Brown pace. We are ready for him to be the head coach.
So now let's slow it down. Let's hang out. Let's have a good time. Let's talk to the people. Shout out to everyone watching us live, including our guy Roddy, who says good stuff. Deuce and Mo.
Appreciate you, Roddy.
If you're here, make sure to hit the thumbs up button. We're over 200 thumbs up. You're damn right we are. Hit the subscribe. Also follow us on Twitch too. Shout out to Twitch peeps as well. Let's get to some questions. If you have questions, by the way, fire away. You got comments too. We'll get to them over the next 25 minutes before D-Lo and KC take over on ESPN 1320. And if you have no idea who D-Lo and KC are, they're awesome. They do a radio show in Sacramento, but it's more than a radio show. It's got more of a podcast feel anyway. They're going to have this Kings it's going to be covered big time. So the conversation will carry right in to their show at noon.
Great people, great content. Check them out.
Leezy asked this, Morgan.
Yeah.
Deuce, do you think Steve Clifford will be an assistant?
Oh, well, we've talked about this.
Yeah, I think it is something to watch. I do think it's something to watch. Just based on the fact that they know each other, and the Kings did interview him to be the head coach. So, I think having another defensive mind is not a bad thing. A guy who's got coaching experience, who is very detail oriented. That's great. I'm interested to see how his staff fills out. Anthony Slater brought up a couple of names as well. Leezy also wants to know if Mike Brown's slow pace concerns you, considering Fox has played well at a faster pace. No, it doesn't. And we kind of hit this at the top of the show too. It's kind of the 3 staples. He did a coach's seminar, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, coaching clinic.
In 2018, where he's talking about his 3 staples on offense were pace, space, and 0.5. 0.5, making quick decisions. I think he wants to play with pace. I think pace also determines like the pieces on your team. Like, do you have a guy like De'Aaron Fox? Yeah, you want to play with pace. You want to get the ball out. You want to have quick outlet passes. It doesn't always have to be De'Aaron bringing up the ball. I mean, hell, last year, How many times you see Sabonis just getting the ball and going?
Right.
Because he is very good at making plays.
And that's what it sounds like, even with his offensive philosophy. If you don't have an outlet, whoever it is that needs to push the ball, push the damn ball, because that's the whole point of pushing the pace and running your lanes. And just kind of being able to play that positionless basketball at times and really just understanding where you need to be on the floor. Freedom, but also being held accountable to get to certain spots, to sprint over to a screen, to cut and move without the basketball, but with a purpose.
Let's get to some more questions from the people in the chat, including Jeff Hardy Rules.
Oh, what's up?
Hey, Deuce and Mo. Any thoughts on Mike Brown's relationship with Chimeze Metu and if that will influence Metu to stay? I believe Metu's under contract for next year, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see what his deal is, just to make sure. Chimeze Metu has a team option for next year at 1.9, so that's up to the team. I'll try to find out what that actual official deadline is, too, for them to pick up the deal, because that is something to watch. Scrolling down. Let's see if we got some deadlines here. No. Chimeze Metu, his deal would be guaranteed for next year on January 10th.
Okay.
For the rest of the season. So wait, let's see here. There's 2 dates here, actually. So I think they've got 2. Wow, they've got a lot of. Okay, so one date says July 15th is when it becomes guaranteed at 1.9, but there's also one that says January 10th. So I don't know if that's like
a mistake.
It's partially guaranteed starting July 15th, and then they have another option come January. So, but back to your original question, yeah, Chimeze Metu did play on the Nigerian national team and knows Mike Brown. And, to Brown's credit, like, he got that team to play well.
Yep.
And they had some NBA talent on there for sure, from Metu to Gabe Vincent. So, but they beat Team USA in the exhibition.
Yeah, no, and we all remember it. And so, again, getting the most out of his talent, just really understanding basketball and getting guys to buy in.
I'm trying to find out who his coaches were.
You do that, and I'm going to answer it, because speaking of coaches, Rod says, I believe Lindsey Harding, Rico Hines, and Doug still have a year left on their contract, whatever their contract is. Will they stay or be assigned to the G League or cut? So many different options. We don't know at this time, and this is something we had discussed even yesterday when the hire was reported by Woj, and it's one of those things you're going to expect that Mike Brown has the freedom to make his own coaching staff, to hire his own coaching staff. We've seen this happen before, though, where some coaches get held over. For all 3 of those coaches to get held over would be pretty remarkable. But, like, I get it. I want them all here, too. I think they all add something so great. So we'll just have to wait and see on that front.
Yeah, I would say it's unlikely that all 3 of those people are back. And, if they are back, are they in different roles? Like, Doug was an assistant last year. Would he be someone that if he stayed on, would he be involved in player development? Would he be an assistant coach? I don't know. I would think Doug is someone that if I was a coach, obviously I'm biased because I know Doug, I want him involved in player development. This guy understands that. I think he wants that opportunity to really get his hands on guys and really help them become better players. So,
yeah.
And as far as their contracts, that doesn't really matter much. I mean, they may look for other opportunities. I mean, Lindsey Harding might go, you know what? I don't really want to be in Sacramento anymore. I've built relationships throughout the league. I'm going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Same with Rico. I don't know. So that's definitely interesting. One name, because so many people have been talking about, hey, who could be on Mike Brown's coaching staff? Steve Clifford. Who are some other names to watch? Well, Anthony Slater, who joined us last hour, who writes for The Athletic, was talking about Jordy Fernandez. And Jordy Fernandez was an assistant on Mike Brown's staff with the Nigerian national team. His background, he is with the Denver Nuggets right now as an assistant coach. He started with the Cleveland Cavaliers in player development. So obviously he goes back with Mike Brown a bit. He's been with the Nuggets since 2016 and he joined Mike Brown's staff. So maybe that's someone to watch as someone who might be added to Mike Brown's staff with the Sacramento Kings. And I think the other thing too with the coaching stuff, I think Mike Brown probably already has names in mind, targets. So I think most coaches, especially if you're organized, like you're going to have names already when you go into it. Like, all right, here are guys I want to reach out to. All right, here's my budget.
Hearing how organized Mike Brown is, absolutely, he already has guys in mind. And obviously he has to go off of what the budget is and what guys are willing to do, and also being respectful to other teams and other coaches as well. Like, I'm sure there's like that fraternity where there's that fine line and really understanding how to poach on guys. But
also, like, the other thing, like Mike Brown, like, I know he's got the job now, and we'll know when his press conference is going to be. The Kings did officially announce a hire. I don't think there's been any word on when his actual press conference is. I don't think it's going to be tomorrow because game 5 is in Memphis on Wednesday. So I highly doubt that's going to happen. So maybe in between games 5 and 6 in San Francisco. So that could be something to watch.
Okay.
But who knows at this point. But the point I was trying to make is, like, Mike Brown still has a job.
Yeah.
With the Golden State Warriors. He's staying on with them throughout the playoffs.
job.
And this is like they're trying to win a championship.
Yeah.
So, how much is he going to really be able to dive in right now? The Kings matters. Is it like, all right, I got a couple hours here. Let me make some calls to, prospective assistants. Like, I don't know how all that's going to work from a juggling standpoint.
Yeah. He seems like the type of guy that will stay committed to what's at hand and whatever is the number one priority. And the number one priority should be the team that he is with right now, right? Until that season is over, then bye. They're not a priority at all anymore. I mean, maybe on a personal level, just making sure your guys are good, especially if you end up getting knocked out of the Western Conference or whatever that may be. But besides that, bye. Priority number one will then go to Sacramento.
Kang says press conference would be after Golden State finishes their season. Is he an insider? Do we have information on that? I think it's possible. I don't know. And I think part of it's probably up to Brown, too. It's like, hey, when do you feel comfortable? Because you've got
work to do.
You've got shit going on. And if he is very, structured, he may not want to deal with that at this point in time. And I get that.
Me on game days during the Sacramento Kings season, it's like, I can't take certain calls. I can't do certain meetings. I can't even do certain things because I like to have my structured day. Otherwise, I get thrown off and I'll get anxiety and things are not good.
Shout out to my guy, Forever Amin, in the house, who, of course, did our Deuce and Mo song that we play.
Let's go, Kings.
When we start the stream.
No.
He said, hat is tough, Deuce.
Ooh.
I gotta say, man.
You're
giving
getting
me a lot of love for this Kings hat.
I love it. I'm so happy for you.
I know how to pick out my hats, man. I'm getting a good hat collection now.
I feel like you do. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I don't really take good care of it, though. I run them into the ground.
That's okay.
I'm not that guy. I'm not like a sneaker hat guy who's like, I got to protect it. I put it in this case so it stays.
You fold the bill.
I wear them into the ground. This hat will be with me for a decade and a half. Paul says, would it be better for Mike Brown to win another championship or get knocked out this round and get focused on the Kings? Let him win another championship, man. I'm cool with it. Like, what's going to change? Like, if he got knocked out, let's just say they lose to Memphis. It's not going to happen.
No.
Maybe.
No.
I mean, there's a lot of work to do, but it's not. It can wait till June.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. We're in May. It can literally wait till June. A lot of guys, I feel like a lot of NBA players take their vacations now or usually right before the season, right before training camp?
You mean NBA?
Yeah.
Like players who are not good enough to be in the playoffs?
I feel like it's after
1, 2, 3 Cancun.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3 Cancun. But I feel like too, it's like Vegas Summer League. We'll see some guys there and everything, and then after that, I feel like there's one more vacation, and then people are back anyway. So I feel like August is like the lockdown month. But yes, you want to make sure he's at least thinking about shit before August.
The other thing is like the pre-draft stuff, and that's the challenge too. Like, because if you want to talk about logistics here, if Mike Brown and the Warriors end up going to the finals, the next week is the NBA draft. The week after the finals, I believe, is the NBA draft, right?
Yeah.
So
I'll double check.
I guess that's one area that Mike Brown's probably not going to be involved in draft workouts. Now, it doesn't mean that on the side, if the Warriors make a deep run, that he can't be involved in watching tapes of workouts and, being on Zoom interviews or something like that, it's going to be different for him.
Yeah. So yeah, same. So if a game 7 were to happen with the NBA Finals, that would most likely fall on June 19th. Season would be over for everyone, and then NBA draft on the 23rd, just 3-4 days later.
Yeah. So, okay, maybe we don't want the Warriors to win. Maybe can the Warriors get bounced out in the conference finals and then...
But, I mean, even with the NBA draft, isn't it going to be Monty McNair like...
No, for sure. I mean, Monty is running the show. Well, Monty and Wes are running the show. But, you do... it's cool to have head coaches be there for an interview. Mike Brown's been around a lot of good players, so it would be good for him to be around the process and for workouts. Ideally, it doesn't mean it has to happen. He could still have input, remotely. I'm sure. We'll see, man. So that's going to be adjustment. But the other thing too, like the Kings, I don't know if his coaching staff will be done by then.
Yeah.
So some of the people that we mentioned, from Rico to Doug and Lindsay, they may get a call back from the Kings like, hey, you're still under contract. Like, can you guys come in and help with our draft workouts?
Right.
Like, can you be a part of running them through these things? Here's what we
Still
want to
getting
run
paid
through.
to do this. So
Yeah, you can help out. And we've seen that with previous coaches. I mean,
it's happened so many times.
when new ownership came in Sacramento back in 2013, Keith Smart was still the coach at one point, and then you still had Jeff Petrie. Jeff Petrie was still doing the pre-draft workouts up until the draft and gave them all the information. Like, here you go.
Yeah.
We've been doing all the work all year long. So,
something else I just saw too. Donald James said, "I get special merch perks for being a member." ... Just kidding. I love that you are a member and you get those emotes and everything. What's so fun too is that Deuce and I are talking about obviously coming into this next season with so many different bonus content opportunities, with more of like a Patreon type member subscription.
YouTube members, and talking about maybe have some merchandise perks, maybe some exclusive member watch parties. We just launched memberships on YouTube, and you can subscribe on Twitch as well. But if you're on YouTube, you could click join, and for $1.99 a month, you get all these emotes, and we give you a shout out. It's just a way to support the podcast as we continue to grow it.
But we'll have more even coming up into this next season, so stay tuned, and it's going to be a lot of fun extra stuff that we're going to throw out there.
And sources say we may be doing a watch party as soon as...
Soon as what?
Tell me, man. Tonight?
What time would that be?
I don't know. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
We'll let people know. Philip wants to know, is the draft lottery next week? Morgan, do you have the date of the draft lottery? If not, I can get it. I believe it's May 17th.
Yep. Draft lottery, May 17th. We will obviously be live for that. And we will be giving you more information too on the draft lottery night about our our NBA draft party that we will be having on YouTube and Twitch in June.
This is going to be one of the biggest draft parties on the planet.
Oh, wait, the draft parties or the draft lottery party?
Draft party.
Hell yeah. Our draft party is going to be so fun. I know it's going to be virtual. It's going to be so fun. So we'll give you guys more information though on the draft lottery night on the 17th.
It won't be just us either.
Oh, already confirming that.
Absolutely. Bag says playback watch parties have been super fun. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. We will be doing a playback party. And for those who don't know, a lot of times when we've done watch parties, we've done them on YouTube and on Twitch, where it's just us, like right now, watching the game with stats and talking about different things. But with playback, which is something we're going to be trying, you'll be able to watch the game if you have like a cable or YouTube TV or whatever.
Hulu,
you have
whatever.
to authenticate your account. It's free. Playback's free, but you have to have some sort of subscription to prove that you subscribe to a TV service. You could log in with that, and literally you will have this screen, the game right there, us in a small square in the corner,
a little bubble,
and you could chat with us. You can also request to join us on video live. You can just do a voice thing.
Really interactive.
Yeah.
It's
so
really
we're gonna try
cool.
some things.
Yeah.
We're gonna try some things.
We're gonna try. Playback sounds scary. No, it's not at all. Actually,
it's cool.
it's super simple, and that's why I think sometimes whenever you talk about a new platform, it's like, but I already have this, and this. No, this one's just cool, easy. Boom, you set it up. It's free, and then you watch the game with us, and we'll still keep obviously the options of YouTube and Twitch watch parties too.
Do you think Mike Brown's already like called up De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis and Mitchell? Like, do you think he's already made calls to people on the roster?
He had
tonight.
yesterday off.
Yeah.
Then yes, I'm gonna say yesterday.
Yesterday
yes.
off from a game.
I know, but wouldn't you by that point?
Oh,
like,
100%.
like even if I was shooting a text like, hey, like I'm just, I gotta focus on this, but I just want you to know I'm so excited. I'm gonna set up a call with you on boom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's what kind of organized person I am.
I'm getting more and more excited about the start of this season. I know we're a ways away.
Settle
There's
down,
so
bud.
much to go. We got the draft lottery coming up.
I'm
And
excited.
we got draft prospects coming to town, hopefully.
Hopefully. Yeah. This is going to be fun. You know how much fun I had today just breaking down what Mike Brown was talking about on the floor
Yeah.
and his philosophies on the floor. That just gives me so much life. I love breaking down.
Sacktown Tony says Mike Brown got on Fox and Ox for not being defensive enough on the phone. Yeah. I mean, I still think there are ways to be an adequate defensive team, even if you don't have all great defensive personnel. I think even going back to those early 2000s Kings teams that weren't necessarily, I mean, Vlade was not a lockdown defensive player,
Right.
but he had the intelligence. Mike Bibby got blown by a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you had Doug Christie, who was an all defensive caliber player, first team, second team.
How many times have I said if you can play a good, solid team defense together, you can still execute things even if you don't have a Draymond Green, even if you don't have an Iguodala. So just make sure that you are all buying into whatever the system is and staying disciplined with it and having a few high defensive IQ guys and Davion Mitchell. We'll see what happens with Dante DiVincenzo. But those guys alone, and then hoping for the leap from someone like De'Aaron Fox, that perimeter pressure alone is going to hopefully be something that looks different.
How
next
long
season.
until I start going, hey, man, I think I could see him winning 45 games? How long until I utter that statement? Is that coming from me, or do you think okay.
That's coming. I feel like I think that'll be like beginning of the season though for you. I don't think you'll make that prediction before the season. I think that'll be like 4 games in. You'll be like, oh my God, if they're playing like this, they're gonna win 45 games. And I'll be like, calm down.
Tito says, what are the chances Becky Hammond leaves San Antonio anytime soon? She actually left San Antonio. She's now the head coach of our adopted WNBA
Woo!
team. We are Las Vegas Aces fans.
Yep.
We have agreed to a 1-year deal to be Aces fans.
Yep. And
With an option for us to continue.
Absolutely. They're 2-0 right now, really showing
Big
us
win over the Storm last night.
a huge win over the Storm. Actually, we're seeing probably what could be the W finals, like a preview to the finals with the Storm and obviously the Aces. And so it's exciting. Becky Hammond is the head coach. DeJounte Murray was there to
Was that the game?
support her coaching last night.
One thing you're going to know about us, if this is like your first time hanging out with us, we love basketball.
So much.
We were like, hey, the Monarchs aren't in Sacramento. Sacramento doesn't have a WNBA team. The WNBA product is so fun to watch right now. The game's evolved so much. Like, let's adopt a WNBA team for the summer. We chose the Las Vegas Aces for a multitude of reasons.
You guys, I keep telling Deuce, it's just crazy to see how the game has evolved and just the style of play that I think Becky Hammond has brought into this Aces squad is really just goes to more of her knowledge of what NBA basketball has been in her life. And so kind of taking that same strategy of push the damn ball, use your size, get the rebound. All of you should be rebounding, getting those boards and pushing it the hell out. That's what we're seeing from this squad. It's so fun.
Shout out to De'Erica Hamby.
Oh my gosh.
She's been a beast.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to hop on a bandwagon this year, hop on the Aces bandwagon with us. We'll talk about it. It'll give us something fun to talk about. Big time.
We might even do a watch party sometime.
We might have to do a watch party
Yeah.
for some WNB. Someone's suggesting maybe WWE and AEW playback.
Why not? Why not?
But that would require everyone to have to purchase said premium live event or pay-per-view. So
If
that's a little
it,
different.
yeah, I mean, if it was a pay-per-view, I guess. But
yeah,
if they
we
had,
could do Dynamite. We could do Dynamite.
oh yeah, because otherwise it's not even until like
Yeah.
8:00 at night, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, ugh,
Yep.
8:00 at night.
Steven, by the way, shout out to you for becoming a member. King Alex, do you guys still cover the NFL? Alex, our we've evolved a little bit in our content. We've kind of narrowed. I mean, I still watch the NFL. I'll enjoy it. It's been kind of nice to just focus in on basketball.
Yep.
NBA and Kings. There's so many storylines. The offseason, really, there is no real offseason anymore. So I just think that's kind of our strategy at this point.
And not only that, too, I'm like, why haven't we adopted a WNBA team before? It's because years past, we had been focused on so many other sports.
Yeah.
And to really focus on the thing that we love the most, which is basketball, and that's on a women's level, on a men's level, it's just so much more exciting that way. And we get to nerd out and understand these draft picks at a different level. We get to understand the game at a different level. We get to just put all of our time in that one bucket. And it's been fun.
So fun. We're going to be back live again, 10 a.m. Pacific time on Tuesday. Our buddy Mark Jones will be with us. I can't wait to hear what he has to say about Mike Brown. And he's been watching all these playoffs. He's been calling the games.
Up close and personal. So, yeah, I'm excited to hear what Mark Jones has to say. Just obviously a fantastic broadcaster and fantastic person.
So we'll talk to him about Mike Brown. I'm sure he'll have some good nuggets, too, on Mike Brown. Speaking of Mike Brown, D'Lo and KC, go check out ESPN 1320. I need to figure out how to raid on YouTube in the future. Because I think there is a way that we can send to it. We could try to figure out right now.
No, not right now. There's only there's like 90 seconds, dude.
What's your point? We're just hanging out. What?
Nothing.
What? No, what?
Nothing.
Send someone to another. Morgan, if you need to go, go. It's not that hard. I'm trying to raid someone because that's what you should do in this community.
Focus!
God damn.
I'm literally watching you do it. Like, how is that not supportive? I'm sitting here watching you do this.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up later because Morgan's ruined this experience.
No, because I knew that's what you were going to have to do.
I saw it the other day, Morgan. That's why I was bringing it up.
I believe you.
So just so you know, Morgan does not support D'Lo and Casey because I want to support. I want to send everyone over. So what you guys can do is just go to ESPN 1320's YouTube page. I'm going to drop the link in the YouTube chat.
There you go.
And I want you guys to go there and listen to some fun Kings conversation. Sound good?
Sounds great.
We're going to go ahead and raid them on Twitch as well. We appreciate all you guys hanging out with us. Make sure to spread the word about us. Hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe. We will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. We love you guys, but we gots to go.
Have a wonderful rest of your day. See ya.